Hi, folks. Thanks for being here. We'll give everyone a few minutes before we kick things off. All right, we have our guest. Let's bring in Prakash. How you doing, bro?
I'm doing well, bro. How are you doing, man?
Amazing. Thanks for being here.
It's a pleasure, bro.
Fantastic. How are things going with you?
All
How's
good.
Malaysia
It's been a
blockchain?
busy week, but it's excited. It's going to be a long weekend, so a bit of time with the family.
Oh, that's fantastic. Yeah. How was Malaysia blockchain week?
Malaysia Blockchain Week was a blast. I think it was beyond what I had expected. I think the ecosystem there is actually very, very promising, especially from a gaming perspective. The community there is very excited. I think they're very eager to kind of see new games that they can grind and have fun and make money at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I was talking to a game last night called PlayerMon. They're based there. They just launching a second game. I'm forgetting something whale on Ton. The whole tap
Right.
tap thing is blowing up. So I'm sure today we'll get some chance to talk about that too.
I'm sure. Yeah, we launched PlayerMon back in the day. I think it was one of the first few projects that we actually had on our launchpad.
Oh, amazing. So they had a very good fit with what we're building at Tashi because especially that kind of game, which is more strategy style, playing against each other, your compute costs go through the roof. And if you end up using Tashi in the back end, there's a natural fit for games like that.
Awesome, amazing.
All right, so cool. So I think I really want to jump in deep and talk about a few different things here about your story about building Web3 gaming and how you've seen it evolve, right? So let's kick off with when did you start Engine Startup and what got you to
Sure,
start? Yeah.
sure. So we started the company in April 2021, and then we spent a couple of months building out the platform. I think one key thing that me and my co-founder felt is that it's very important for us to display the capabilities of what we're building. So we actually built a launchpad. We hosted our sale on our own launchpad, and we launched that in October 2021. So it's going to be 3 years since we launched as a token. I think right from the beginning, the main inspiration why we started a launchpad is we feel investing into early stage projects is an asset class. And back in the day, it's an asset class that was reserved for the elites, right? But what we wanted to do is spend that time securing these allocations and bringing that to our community. And that really has been what we have been doing over the last 2.5 years to 3 years. We've done a total of 100 IDOs on our platform. 60% of that is in gaming and GameFi and gaming infrastructure. And it's been an interesting journey. We've learned a lot from this experience. We continue to get excited about the space, and in any new cycle, in its launch pads where we actually see the first action, right? We are always the place where money gets printed, literally, as we say it. And that's really is what is exciting us in preparation of the upcoming bull cycle.
Yeah, I love it. I like the confidence with which you're saying the upcoming bull cycle. So
Well, we're holding our breaths. Definitely the last couple of this week has been a rough week,
yeah,
but it has been a tough couple of months. We did have our best month in March. We did more than what we did in a whole year, right? In a single month. But a lot of that was because projects were kind of rushing to do their token launches in and around the Bitcoin halving. But this is not our first cycle. We've seen how things are. Post halving, there's always a whole lot of correction, a whole lot of drama that actually takes place. But we continue building, right? This is the best time for us to spend a lot more time with the projects that we are speaking to kind of understand the challenges that they have, and to kind of focus their attention deeper into community acquisition, to focus a lot more into the products that they're building, into the games that they're building. And this period for us, has been focusing a lot more on getting actual gamers to come and test the game, to play the game, to give feedback. And that's primarily what we've been focused on in this cycle.
Very interesting. So, and when you say you're focused on bringing gamers on like that, you're doing as engine starter, is that a separate vertical you guys are thinking of and combining the whole game publisher side of businesses and combining this with your launchpad side of business?
Yeah, so it's primarily for the projects that we're supporting. I think what we saw in the earlier cycles, it's never a problem to raise capital. There's always a lot of interest. There's a lot of liquidity in the market, especially projects that, have a good ability to do marketing and create FOMO. Everything that we put on our platform sells out. But what we feel is always the bigger challenge, especially in Web3, is getting the actual gamers to actually come in to play the game, to be a part of the game development and the game progress, right? A lot of the community that we see are speculators. They come in because they want to get in early into some of these investment opportunities. But once they get their tokens, they tend to flip and move on to the next project, right? And this doesn't build a very sustainable ecosystem. And what we've been now kind of focusing on is working with the projects that we're looking to launch to ensure that they have, their gamers in place. We know exactly who is it that we're targeting. And then depending on which markets that they want to focus more, whether it's in the Asian market, whether it's in Southeast Asia, we find a way to kind of support them with that gamer acquisition, and also ensuring that the right incentives are in place. We are supporting these gamers as well as giving them incentives to actually play the game.
Yeah, very interesting. I love it because I think that's been one of the core ethos points that we started Tashi. Because when you look at it, right, Web 2 gaming is 200 billion and Web 3 gaming, which is all more GameFi, is just 10 billion, right? And more than that number, I think the one which is a stark gap is there's 2 billion gamers in this world and there's 3 million Web 3 gamers, right? So that
Mhm.
means that the gamers that should be playing a lot of these cool Web 3 games that are coming out, and some of them are actually like really fun, right? But because their name has been tarnished, the regular gamers aren't coming in. And I think the more we're able to bridge that gap together, the this ecosystem will only grow. So the way we think about it is how do we just put the Tashi tech at the back without people even thinking that there's any Web3 involved?
Sure. I think that's going to be crucial. I think you guys will play a key role in ensuring that the gamer experience is going to be very smooth. And I think, that's where the infrastructure that you guys are building is definitely going to bring a lot more Web3 games. But I also believe that eventually Web2 games will start working with Tashi to say, it's going to be a lot easier to kind of deploy these games. I think the biggest challenge that we see in the space is that in order for you to onboard into a Web3 game, you just need to jump through too many loops, right? And there's just too much friction points. You need to download a wallet. You need to hold tokens in a certain chain. Sometimes you need to bridge tokens from one chain to another. All of these are actually friction points where people drop off in the entire experience. And I think what we really need in this cycle is things that are just so easy, where at a click of a button, you are actually playing the game, you're actually engaging, you're getting hooked onto the game. And I think that's what's really exciting about this particular cycle is the tap to earn games, right? I mean, it's just so viral, it's just so addictive. All of us in the team are playing multiple tap to earn games. We're grinding it out. I even use my kids to mine it. For me, I can say it's child labor. but
Yeah,
it's a good way to get them entertained,
yeah,
as well as to understand what is the work that I do.
yeah.
And now they're really enjoying it. And I would say the quality of the games in the Tap to Earn have also evolved tremendously. And I feel this is where a whole lot of new people are actually going to start coming into the ecosystem. I think the tight integration with the Ton wallet and the Ton infrastructure plays a massive role. And that really solves a lot of the pain points that we have seen since 2021, especially in the Web3 gaming space.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a great point, right? And that's what even I've seen when I've tried to go in and play a game is, and I've asked this question of a lot of Web3 games that we work with and some founders, and there's a, I guess, disconnect, right? Because on one hand, they're so focused on building the token ecosystem. So that's why they have to make sure that when you sign up, you're connecting your wallet, having all of that set up, right? Versus
Mhm.
if you're playing most games in the Web2 world, you can at least experience the game before doing that. And I think that's one of the things that the tap games have done is that they allow you to immediately start playing the game because
Yeah,
then you can decide, right? Like, do I want to earn enough points there, then connect my wallet? And that flips the model around because you're saying, let's bring the players in, let them play and enjoy the game, and then
mhm.
decide is the time that they spend worth the assets that they will, whatever they'll mine over there, whatever, however they get those assets. So
Yeah,
I think the more I see, the larger Web3 games also following that path is let's bring the gamers in first, just have a single sign on, and then connect your wallet, have all those friction points built in later, because those will still be additional steps to a gamer, right? So give them
agreed.
the choice that you at least get to play and enjoy the game minus those benefits.
I agree. I agree. I think in the early days, everyone was very focused on the token economy, and when you're building a game, you also need to think about the game economy, right? So in many cases, literally, you are building two businesses or two projects in parallel, and sometimes you focus on one area and you tend to neglect the other area, right?
Yeah.
And I think in the early Web3 gaming space, the focus was too much on the tokenomics as well as the ability for you to actually earn those tokens. And what actually happened is we attracted a whole lot of people who were just purely there to actually grind these tokens to earn that tokens. They were not really looking at the entertainment value or the fun that they were actually going to get out of that game. I think with the advent of technology and with game development becoming a lot more easier, we're definitely seeing a lot more AA, AAA standard games coming into the Web3 arena. And with that, there's going to be a much more higher entertainment value as well as a gaming experience. And then the token economy is something that actually comes as a broader part of that. And I think the other key thing that I feel Tashi will solve is what we see, right? The bulk of the community that we serve or the community that we see coming up into the games are mostly in Southeast Asia. Our fastest growing market is South Asia. A lot of these guys are hungry. A lot of these guys have time that they want to grind and play these games and earn tokens, but sometimes they are limited. They have limited access to broadband. They may be playing a game on their mobile, and this is where I feel the infrastructure that you guys are building is actually going to enable a whole lot of people from the global south to actually participate as an equal in the space, and this is where it's going to bring a whole lot of new people in this cycle.
Oh, thanks for those words. I truly appreciate it. Um, you touched a bit about tokenomics. I wanted to, I guess, hear your thoughts because I guess as the cycles have evolved, people have started thinking of novel ways of fundraising and applying them in the business, right? So this year, it's been all about the meme coins and they've been blowing up. There's been some node sales that have happened. Deepin is really blowing up. So lots of kind of different themes that are arising as they do in every cycle. So, what's been your experience of how you've seen these cycles evolve, and where do you think will be the next big one that will be coming up, right? So,
Sure,
do you see the
sure.
meme coin craze continuing until the bull run, or other things popping up?
Sure. So, tokenomics again is something that we see on a daily basis, and it's something that always constantly is evolving. Just like the whole Web3 space, the whole tokenomics space is also very, very new, and we're constantly evolving with that. From a launchpad perspective, we're definitely seeing a shift, right, towards a more fair launch based model, because a lot of projects that have come by, they've raised a whole lot of money from investors, primarily crypto VCs and KOLs. And by the time the project actually comes to the launchpad, the retail investors are exit liquidity for some of the early investors that have come in. While we feel that it's if it's done well, if it's done in a healthy manner, it benefits everybody within the value chain. But unfortunately, we've also seen a whole lot of dumping, either by the project teams or by some of the early investors. And that's really why the retail investor market is now shifting towards the memes, right? Because they know they're getting in early, they know they're getting the tokens at a very, very fair price. And because they were there early, they're taking that risk. They are also going to be able to kind of see that financial upside. And if you ask me, this is kind of taking things one full cycle, right? This is how Ethereum, this is how back in the day when they used to call it ICOs, used to happen, right? A lot of the early investors were locked up for 1 year, 2 year. So there wasn't any sell pressure from the investors at TGE or when the token gets launched. However, a lot of that has actually changed. And we feel that that is something that the market is going to shape, because you can design the best tokenomics, but when the retail investor doesn't feel that you're putting his interest at heart, he's not going to buy, right? And that's really what's been happening over the last couple of months. We're definitely very excited about what's happening in the note sale market. I think Sai was kind of the pioneer to kind of bring this trend into the market. And since then, we've seen a whole lot of projects coming in, doing it very, very successfully. And projects are also kind of starting to explore whether doing a form of note sale at the start and using tokens at the later part as an incentivization tool is a better way of actually raising capital for the projects that they're looking at. Again, it's still very, very new. I still feel the space is going to evolve in many, many different ways. I feel it's also going to attract a new breed of investors, right? Guys who typically like to invest in tokens will continue to stay as a token investor, right? They are aware, that it's a high risk, high reward kind of scenario, and they thrive on that, right? They enjoy it, they like that, they have made money in the past, they want to repeat that success, and they will continue to do that. But there's a whole lot of investors who are sitting on digital assets that they don't mind investing or lending liquidity to a project with some level of consistency in terms of returns, knowing that it is a more stable investment. And I feel this way, it's going to be able to attract more people to come in and participate within the ecosystem. It will definitely reduce the sell pressure that happens in our space. And hopefully, this kind of helps build a lot more stable token economies in the gaming space.
Yeah, I fully agree. I think because we're also doing our note sale, and for the other folks listening in, we're partnering with Engine Starter for that. And one of the feedback points we got from a lot of folks that when we were thinking about is all the successful note sales, because they've been structured in a manner which is of having tiered pricing. If you didn't get a chance to get in early, people were unhappy with that. And I think because we're kind of very focused on having that equal opportunity, or like you called it, the fair token economy, we're going a different gamified way of enabling folks to come in and buy tokens at fixed price, but depending on how involved they are with our project and the ecosystem, they get more rewards. So
Yeah.
that equates the process for everyone, and it gamifies it in a way that gamers truly love, and it makes the level playing field for everyone coming in, right? So I think the way we see it is that we want the larger community to see Tashi as someone who wants to be here for a long period of time, not
Right.
come in, raise some money, and then not be around for the next cycle. So we're trying to do things in a very novel and also fair manner.
Awesome. I think that's really what the market needs at this point in time. I think people need to feel that it's a long term play. You are being rewarded for your loyalty. You're also being rewarded for your support in building the success of the game. Right. I think that's really the power of where Web3 comes in. But a lot of times when we meet with project owners, they consistently think about fundraising, right? While the token is a very powerful tool from a fundraising perspective, but when your token doesn't do well and when you have to face your community or you have to face your investors, it's not a fun thing to be. We see that constantly, right? So they definitely need to look at it on a much more longer term basis. And I think the key really is about sustainability, right? I think short term pumps or short-term hype cycles don't benefit anyone, and we constantly need to kind of figure out ways that we can continue to evolve the model. And even if the model has been around for a couple of years, you will need to consider new ways to kind of incentivize the community to be engaged. So, take for example with Engine Starter, right? The way that our platform works is our community buys our tokens and they stake that token, right? Some of them stake it for as little as 30 days. And some of our community have our token staked for 999 days, right? That's more than 3 years.
Yeah.
That kind of shows the commitment that they have to the project. That kind of gives us that ability to build based on a stable token ecosystem. We know when the unlocks are going to happen, when people are going to be selling, and then we find ways to actually get them engaged. But even with that, a lot of the community may get static because they have been stick with us for a long time. They're getting all these allocations. They don't need to do any form of effort to actually get an allocation. And this is where we're now reintroducing new ways where we are allowing people to actually play to earn some of these allocations. If they actually contribute to the community, if they actually help the projects in some form, we're also going to be able to reward them with a token. So I think this is where I think being as inclusive as we can from a tokenomics perspective is going to be quite crucial. Not forgetting the retail investors that may invest $10, $20 into a project, right up to the whales who may invest anything in excess of $5,000 per project. We need to ensure everyone is kind of looked after and happy in that entire ecosystem.
Absolutely. Yeah, I fully agree. Just go touching it, expanding across or going a little into the broader into the ecosystem. Everyone in the blockchain world loves gaming, right? So you see every chain talking about how gaming is a massive focus for them. Every time I've been for any gaming event like Gamescom, GDC, you see all the big chains having massive booths. Um, how do you, being on more closer to the games, see these guys looking at these chains? And the reason I ask this question is that with most of the chats that I've had with a lot of games, they typically choose the chain that uh, gives them the grant in the easiest and
Sure,
fastest way possible, right?
sure,
And have you seen pretty much the same? And how do you see that playing out, right? Because you have
sure.
people just going what you call chain shopping, right? They keep switching and
Mhm.
hopping around, and that creates this, uh, you know, constant like is there a real, you think, leader that will stand out in this place, and how are games thinking about this?
Sure. So yeah, you're right. I think everyone kind of looks at the funding support that any of these chains can provide for building or integrating into the chain. They also consider what kind of marketing support, whether it's an existing community or whether they're getting additional funding support to actually do gamer acquisition. So a lot of projects do. I mean, every project needs to be multi-chain. I think we need to look at what is going on in the Web2 space, and the Web3 space needs to kind of mirror that. But having said that, I think there are a lot of gaming-focused chains that are coming into play. A lot of these guys have gone out to kind of attract some of these games. In the previous cycles, we've seen how games have taken funding support in different chains, launched it, and gotten solid traction, but sometimes launching it in the wrong chain, right? So part of the work that we do today is to bring some of these guys from one chain to another, to ensure that they're getting all the necessary support from an ecosystem perspective. It's easy to get excited about some of the grant money or some of the funding support that some of these chains will offer. But I think what you really need to do is look at the track record of what they've done, look at how they've actually helped other games to get user acquisition. And I think that continues to be the biggest and most important challenge to be solved at this point in time. And I think we'll definitely start seeing a lot more of that happening. In previous cycles, we've also relied heavily on guilds to actually get that traction going. It did work in some cases, it didn't work in some cases. But what we're definitely starting to see a lot more in this particular cycle would be projects that are actually building gaming infrastructure to actually organize tournaments, to actually onboard more players, even if it's at a short term, to actually get more gamer participation, to get more on-chain transactions, to get more on-chain action is what is needed in this particular cycle, and we're definitely seeing a lot more of that. I am personally also feel that a lot of these layer ones, layer twos, and even layer threes will shift towards a model where they're not going to give out free money anymore, like how they used to, but they will actually fund wallets and actually encourage players to actually play the game, so that you actually get actual gamers actually playing the game. The project gets the benefit, and the more these gamers are playing in the game, they get hooked. And depending on how sticky the game is, they stick around, and they will continue playing the game. And I think this is the model that we're definitely going to see a lot more happening in this particular cycle.
Interesting. Before I switch topics, do you have your top three favorite chains?
Wow, it's hard for me to say that, but I would say from a community perspective, the lower gas fee, the higher liquidity, the more loyal a community is to a chain, it's always easy for us to work with them. And I feel a lot of people are married to a chain, right? So they tend to stick to that chain. For us, I think from previous cycle, I think BNB chain guys have been very supportive, providing a lot of support. We definitely see guys like Sui supporting the ecosystem, doing a whole lot of promotion in the space. And I think these are guys that we've kind of journeyed with. We're very happy with them. Hard to pick favorites because we love to work with all of them. In this cycle, I think we're quite excited about what's happening on Ape Chain, as well as Arbitrum. And I think a whole lot of new gaming focused chains are going to be coming in. So the entire space is quite exciting.
Yeah, I love it. I think we're looking to choose Arbitrum as our chain, and I think because they're going deep into gaming and really building out like a gaming council, and spending their time and effort behind what they're saying. So yeah, fantastic, good to know. Um, And switching gears into, I guess, the gaming world itself. Um, are you a gamer yourself? Is there any specific games you like playing?
Well, I at this point in time, I'm only socially playing the tap to earn games. I'm not a big gamer myself. My son, is more of a gamer, and sometimes I see him, and that's the way that we bond. But I'm not a gamer myself.
Got it. But so just to like on in the gaming side, do you see a specific genre of games that are really coming in? One of I think our internal thesis, and even I really believe that is that majority of gamers in the Web2 world are hyper casual gamers, right?
Hmm.
So you have your super hardcore gamers who are in your FPSs and the Call of Duties and so on, but the majority of the world is made of the hyper casual gamers. And I initially, just from the outside, it would seem that they would be the guys you could bring into Web 2 Web 3 gaming quite easily, and I
Sure.
think that somehow not happened. And I think that's one of the thesis that we're kind of working on, is trying to work with these hyper casual games to try and bring them in, right? Like the Web 2 guys as well. So there's a few guys we're talking to, because that's where the masses really live. Do you guys have a thesis that what genre is building more in Web 3 right now, and where do you
Sure.
see the next big jump coming in?
Sure. So, having been in the space for the last 3 years, there have been many of these theses that we have subscribed to, we put money into them. And in a way, we're still waiting for it, right? I think we're really still waiting, and I think it's happening now. Illuvium just went live. We're definitely going to see the likes of AA, AAA games now coming into the fold. We've seen projects like Oxia Origin, which is a first player shooter game they've been building for quite some time. I had a chance to meet the team in Paris in February. I had a chance to test the game. It's next level, right? We're really starting to see how these high quality gaming franchises and gaming assets are now going to be coming into the ecosystem. It's taken some time, but I think the time is definitely coming. I think everyone's hardware is also now at a place where we are able to actually handle some of these larger, more heavy in computing power games. But just like you, I completely agree that the hyper casual segment is what we feel is going to bring in the next tier of gamers, especially in this particular cycle. I think a lot of games are now pushing the fact that it's easy to play, is fun, before they actually push the fact that it's supported by a token economy. And I think that's something that is very exciting for us. We definitely look for games that are also able to bring in new audiences into the space. I think the female segment is something that most gaming companies have overlooked. But in all the travel that I've gone for, we're growingly seeing more female gamers coming into the space. I'm seeing more female esports teams coming all around the world, including in Saudi Arabia. So definitely, I feel that would be a segment to look at. I think it's going to be a whole lot of new people coming in to participate in the space. But I think at the end of the day, whichever game is going to be fun, whichever game promises, lots of time away from the hardship of life, and also allows you to connect with friends, also allows you to meet with new people, is what I feel gaming will provide. And then, being able to support or provide some secondary source of income is going to be, the kicker that actually comes in. And I also feel games that are focused, on emerging markets from a gamer acquisition perspective will do very well, right? Because these are the guys that will be able to really draw the large numbers, and that's where you actually get the traction that you need.
Yeah, oh, that's fantastic. One point you touched on right now was, around the in-game assets, right? So in the last cycle, NFTs had their hype, not just in gaming, but in general, right? So it was all the craze, and that was a big driving part of the whole gaming world. And this cycle is more around meme coins, and then you kind of see that you're getting the ton kind of games, which are the equivalent version of what gamers would think of, right? So how do you see the NFT world? Because that's still a big part of Web3 gaming and all your in-game assets. Um, Not having its blowout at this point of time, and that playing with how GameFi is operating. So do you see people kind of caring about in-game assets, or do you see more and more focus people just focused and thinking about tokens right now within games?
Sure. I think one of the biggest thing that Web3 gaming has been trying to solve is that you can bring your asset from one game to another, right? And I think that was one of the main reasons we came into the space. The very reason why we worked with Engine in the beginning was because of that, right? They were the guys that were writing the ERC 1177 standard back in the day, where you can embed a fungible a non-fungible sorry a fungible asset into a non-fungible asset. And I think that portability when it comes to digital asset is still going to be a very, very important narrative. I think what we saw in the last cycle is that NFTs or NFT communities started to build IP, right? They started to build IP around communities, and now we're starting to see that IP coming into the gaming environment, coming into the metaverse environment, and we'll definitely start seeing a lot more of that happening in this particular cycle. I think the fact that ApeChain is launching their mainnet soon, we're definitely going to start seeing a lot more of that, right? Where you are kind of marrying a strong brand name into an early startup, which is the franchise-based model that we've seen in traditional world. That kind of solves a lot of the execution risks that we have seen when an indie game comes to market, because you're trying to do a whole lot of things, and one thing you may not have is a brand to attract a large audience. And this is where working with tier one blue chip NFT communities kind of gives you that access and advantage. Today, the space is dominated by memes. A lot of people have made a lot of money or made a lot of sol in these meme projects, but there's no utility for it, right? You're sitting on a whole lot of assets that you can't do much with it. And this is where we are actually going to start seeing a lot more memes being used in gaming, where you can, wager your meme coins and maybe win something, or you can even, do degen stuff and do a coin flip and win money. But I think this is where utility for the meme tokens becomes very, very critical. We're definitely seeing gaming partners or gaming infrastructure partners that we're working with looking to be able to integrate this. And this solves another big problem, right? Because a lot of the big meme communities have very, very strong communities. And if you find a way to attract them into your gaming environment, you're going to be able to draw that community in. And it's a good way to kind of growth hack your way in this space.
Got it. Yeah, no, I fully agree. It's, I think, testament to, building IP takes a fair amount of time, and you can tell that CryptoPunks had their time and they stuck around for years, and then the Bored Ape guys did it. And, you still see so many large projects that had launched back then, like the Pudgy Penguins, etc., who are all trying to do cool stuff and putting their IP within games. So, yeah, I fully agree with that. Um, I guess one last question I do have in terms of launch pads, right? So you guys are fantastic. Everyone in your community loves you guys. Um, how do projects typically think of working with different launch pads? Because we see people working with four or five, or some people choosing one. How does that thought process? How would you want to share with folks how to go about thinking about something like this?
Sure. So a lot of projects look to launchpads purely from a fundraising perspective. In a bull market, some projects may even do more than five launchpads, right? It's kind of like the launchpad shopping, if at all. I would say that the biggest value proposition that a launchpad brings to a project is that we are giving you an existing community that understands the space and now is willing to come in and participate with your project, ensuring the project is going to be a success, as well as to kind of help you scale. Right now, different launchpads offer different value propositions. Our value proposition from day one has been our localized communities in Southeast Asia, as well as communities that we have built in Turkey, in India, and in other markets that we've been able to find growth. And that's the other value proposition that any launchpad supporting a project can offer. Building a community is challenging. Building localized communities speaking in native languages is even harder. And this is where you can actually leverage the infrastructure of launchpads to actually not just raise capital, but also build strong communities. But one key thing is that you don't own the community, right? When you work with a launchpad, you're literally renting a community from us. And we always encourage projects to figure out ways that they can come back to the launchpad post launch, make announcements, do partnerships, or find ways to actually engage with the community when they have new things that they're launching. So it's an ongoing process. I think at the end of the day, everyone wants to feel loved. They don't want to feel like they're being used. And the more love that we can give them, the more airdrops that we can give them, the more they resonate with the brand, the more they want to do more with the brand. And what we've also seen within the community sometimes is the best place for you to find ambassadors. We've hired a whole lot of people from within the community. They can be scouts, they can be a whole range of things, because once they fall in love with you, they're going to ride with you for that entire cycle. And this is where thinking long term, finding ways to engage with them both online and offline is going to be very crucial.
I love it. I think that's all about Web3 is all about, having a community first approach. So, no, it's been fantastic and loving all the insights. Anything you want to touch up upon?
No, I mean, I enjoyed this chat. Was exciting to really just kind of wing this and jump on a call and kind of share. Very excited about what you guys are building. I feel that it's a critical aspect of the infrastructure when we talk about onboarding the next billion users into the Web3 ecosystem. Very excited to support you guys in the journey ahead. Feel free to reach out anytime there's anything that we can do as a community. And we love to kind of see how you guys progress, and wishing you all the best in the journey ahead.
Thank you so much, sir. This was fantastic and catch up again soon.
Awesome. Thanks for your time, Amr. We'll speak soon.
Bye.
Cheers, then.
Thank you, everyone.